So, John, today we're talking about upgrading finance software without the chaos. What would you say are the key issues with using outdated software or in not reviewing what it can do regularly enough?
It's a good question. So if you've got outdated software, you're missing out on a whole host of new innovations that have come through software recently. I mean, with the event of AI and you've got things going through there, the pace of change is astronomical. If you're using, say, an old legacy piece of software on a desktop, you're missing out on about 1 billion things that can feed into it for industry-specific information like stock, timesheets, payroll, all these sort of things that can automate and speed up the generation of financial information. So it helps speed up the production of management accounts, for example. So you get your management accounts that much quicker. You're also missing out on things like bank feeds, automatically pulling through the bank information from your internet banking, which is pretty much as standard nowadays on cloud systems. But for older legacy systems on desktop, they might not be there or they might not work quite as well. And you're also restricted on where you can access that data. So if it's on a desktop, if it's on your server in your room, on your server back at the office, then you have to be on a desktop with the app on it to actually open up. You can't do it on your phone. So if you're a heating and plumbing engineer out at a client, you can't just quickly pull out the phone, generate the invoice and ping it over to them and collect payment there and then. Whereas if you're on something like a Xero or a QuickBooks, you can do that. And then it helps speed up getting that money in and helps speed up your cash flow. So it's kind of vitally important to be on something a bit more modern and to know, okay, these are things we can do. What can we do better? Get to better financial information, get to run your business better and get to grow better.
And just to pick up on a point you made, you mentioned the cloud. And I remember when I was training as an accountant, nothing was on the cloud. So I guess also thinking about things like year-end and management accounts, when you talk about the cloud, an accountant used to have a backup and now that's not the case?
Yeah, so in the traditional sense of when we're on like Sage Line 50, which we both trained on many years ago, 10 plus years ago, it was the bread and butter. It was desktop based. You took your backup each period end, and then if something went wrong, you could always restore back to that backup. Nowadays, with your Xero, your QuickBooks, you don't take that backup, and there's less of a focus on that period end because things just roll forward. But there is the inbuilt security of essentially Xero and QuickBooks taking that backup. They're backing up in their own servers, and they've got backup servers all over the place that are maintaining that data, and it's got high security on it, and they are maintaining that data for you. Because to be fair, if that went wrong, their whole business would be messed up, and they would suffer immensely because people go, oh, we can't trust them to maintain our data, we'll go somewhere else. So it's in their interest to keep your data secure, keep it up to date, keep it safe. Mm-hmm. So they do that for you. But yeah, it is a very different world to, I mean, even just 5 years ago, let alone 10.
Everything's moving very quickly, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you mentioned lots of things there, tools. I guess you were talking about add-ons as well. You talked about payroll and things like that. What else should a good finance software have, or what should it be focusing on?
I mean, it really depends on the business that you want to do. Whatever your business needs are, you need to find a software that meets those needs. So, for example, I've got a client that has to report in US dollar. So they need a system that can set their base currency as US dollar, even though they are a UK business and needing to do UK VAT returns, etc. So something like Xero, where as soon as you say you're in the UK, you're reporting in GBP, they have brought out new things now where you can generate reports in US dollar. It doesn't work as well as just having the base currency in US dollar. Mm-hmm. So for that client, we went with QuickBooks, because with QuickBooks Online, you could select that your base currency is US dollar. So it's these sort of things, and kind of going, okay, do we need stock? And do we want that in the business itself? Or are we going to want a separate specialist stock solution that could then feed into it? And the add-ons there's a lot of crossover add-ons between the main systems, but some are only available on Xero, some are only available on QuickBooks. And if you come down to, okay, we've got this stock system already, it only integrates with Xero, so we're going to go with Xero. Or if you've got a CRM system that only directly integrates with Xero, then you want to go with Xero, as opposed to QuickBooks, where you're going to have to do an export and import, and it's just that extra added layer of difficulty.
So I guess SMEs could be hearing adverts on the radio for software. They might hear that it's cloud-based, and they might think, well, it doesn't matter which one I pick, I can just pick the cheapest one. But actually, just picking on what some of the things you've said there, sounds like it's really important to actually have a think about it first and work out what you really need the software to be doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And also looking at what else you are currently using, because if you already have a CRM system in place that you're using and everything's embedded in there, it would be an absolute nightmare to move on to something else. You want to keep that. What does that integrate with? Does it integrate with anything or nothing? Because if it integrates with nothing, then okay, that makes it easier because you've got no preference then. I will say on the price thing, you do tend to get what you pay for. So just going for the cheapest one isn't necessarily the best option unless you're a very basic business and don't need a lot of functionality. But yeah, it is a case of assessing what your business needs are, what you need the account system to do, and what you already have, and does it feed into that account system?
So what can the team at Kirk Rice help with?
So we will sit down with the business owners and talk through their needs, get to really understand their business, what do they need to have from that account system, what they currently have in place, all these things I was already talking about, building out sort of a map of the different systems that they already have or what they could have, and feeding it in. And they go, okay, your best solution is Xero on I can't remember what they call them now because they've changed the names of the plans, the middle plan, the main plan, the standard plan, so you don't need foreign currency, etc. So we'd say on that, okay, do you have a set chart of accounts do you want, or are you okay with the standard? Because if you're going from something like Sage, you already know that chart of accounts, and we go, okay, you're coming from Sage, that's an easy conversion. We can use Move My Books, transfer over 2 years worth of data. It's quite quick and easy, and then we can then check it through, make sure it's come over properly, reconcile the bank, make sure that's all fine, debtors and creditors are all lining up perfectly, and then give you training on that new system and set up your bank feeds with you, set up any other add-ons that you've got plugging in so we can feed that in, and just go, okay, here's your new system, and then train you on how to run it yourself, or provide that assistance of going, okay, we can do your bookkeeping for you on a weekly, monthly basis, or whatever you want to do, and do your management accounts, do your VAT return, etc. But it is very much talking to the business, finding out their needs, agreeing the plan of these are the systems, when we're going to do it, how we're going to do it, and getting it set up for them, and then giving them training.
That all sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I guess if I was listening to this and I was thinking about changing software, I might be thinking, well, this all sounds great, but what about some niggling things? So downtime, my staff are using the current system all the time. It sounds very costly, sounds like it might take a long time to do. Maybe there's a particular time of year that I've got to get this done. Oh, I've missed year end, now I've lost my opportunity. Are those, in this day and age, with how fast everything's moving, myths, or is there some truth in that?
There is some truth. It depends on what you're going from and going to.
Right.
So you don't necessarily need to do it at year end. It is a nice clean cut-off time, but you don't necessarily have to do it. I would recommend either a month end or a quarter end, just so you've got a nice clean cut-off. So, I mean, take the example we talked about before. Going from a Sage 50 to a Xero or a QuickBooks is fairly easy. There's very little downtime, maybe a day or two to transfer over, because we can use things like Move My Books, which is a piece of software that can essentially take the Sage backup data and feed that into a new account system. So feed it into your Xero, your QuickBooks, bring in your 2 years worth of transactional data, which is why at that point being at a year end is nice, because you get a full 2 years. If you're in the middle of the year, you only get a full year and then year to date. Depends how much you want. But in that situation, it's quite easy. It's quite quick. There's very little downtime. Now, if you're going from something a bit more niche, say you're going from, a accounts access dimensions. accounts, or you're coming from a TASBooks account, which aren't your standard easy to pull out your data from a Sage 50 backup and move over and move my books. There we're going to be using TB data. So we'll be putting opening balances into TB. Now we can put more historical stuff in with comparatives, but it is very much TB by TB. It's not transactional. And there is a bit more, it takes a bit longer there because it's a more manual process. Mm-hmm. So in those cases, it would be better at a year end just because you've got a nice clear bit, and you, especially the bit that is a problem there is you want to make sure you're, say, if you're VAT registered, that your VAT period is coterminous with year end, because having to straddle two different systems while doing a VAT return is a nightmare. And there's a lot of manual work needing going on there. So in those cases, there is a lot more thought that's go in. There's a lot more manual. It does take a bit longer. Mm-hmm. And in those cases, it is a bit more, there's more downtime. But it's a case-by-case basis.
Okay. And I guess the team at Kirk Rice would be able to tell you if it's scenario A, very straightforward, maybe a fixed price, it's a couple of days, or it's this more slightly complicated, much older legacy system situation, but there's a process to go through.
Yeah, exactly. And we'd be hand-holding the whole time, letting you know how long it's going to take. And obviously the more manual process is more expensive because it is more time-consuming, more labour-intensive. Yeah. But yeah, we would have that conversation with the business beforehand and hash that out.
Thinking about coming to the end of an upgrade project, training feels like something that's going to come at the end. How does that look, and what does success look like at the end?
Okay, so training is, again, very much a case-by-case basis. How much we don't want to teach you things that you're never going to need to do. So if you're going, okay, you're going to do all the bookkeeping, I just want to be able to see reports, then we just show you how to do reports. If you want to be raising your sales in there, we'll show you how to raise your sales in there. If you want to do everything, we'll show you how to raise your sales in there. We'll show you how to do your purchase invoices in there. Although we would recommend having an add-on to help with the purchase invoices because manually putting them into these systems is less efficient. Show you how to do VAT return. Show you how to do all the sort of things that you need in there, and also getting those set up for you. So having that MTD link with HMRC so you can pull through that data. The success for a business is having a system that is modern, having it there, all set up properly, running efficiently, and then being able to have that real-time bookkeeping being done, having that real-time information there, and getting the quicker and more efficient production of management accounts to help the business grow.
Well, that sounds really valuable.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
No worries. Thank you.
Thanks.